and welcome to FAP News. I'm your host Tanaya Jarvis with tonight's lead story. Students at the UWI Institute for Gender and Development Studies are launching a campaign where they are asking men to man up on their mental health. The students are taking a pro-feminist approach to the advocacy, where they intend to show men how the implications of patriarchal ideologies may have contributed to a higher percentage of men experiencing mental health issues than women, as they've been conditioned into not seeking help when they need it most for fear of having their masculinity threatened. Here is their story.
Thank you, Sanya. My name is Talisa Muljan, and first I would like to define some terms before we go further in depth. First, what is mental health? Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not just merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Next, I would like to address the concept of gender socialization. This is the ways in which boys and girls are shaped by social and cultural factors into becoming men and women. And with that comes gender norms, which are rigid social and cultural expectations attached to gender. And linking this back to mental health and masculinity, men actively make decisions to not dress a certain way or to act a certain way, such as showing emotions, so that they can represent the label of manliness. Thirdly, I would like to define the concept of homophobia, the fear that men will be emasculated or unmasked by other men to reveal to the world that they do not measure up. This fear of measuring up also represents the issue of men's mental health in terms of denying a whole range of human emotions that is not a part of the hegemonic ideal. Hegemonic masculinity refers to the ways that constitute a real man or ideal standards of masculinity, such as men don't cry and men don't feel hurt. These feelings or human emotions, when left bottled up, result in violence against oneself. This violence against oneself appears in the form of guilt, self-hate, and various physiological and psychological symptoms, thus affecting mental health. Now I pass you on to my colleagues to further elaborate.
Thank you, Talisa. And now that we understand these concepts, I now ask Ms. Sabina McSween and Ms. Deja Campbell to give us a little bit more information on the statistics on exactly how the implications of these concepts are seen in the lives of our men today.
Thanks, Anya. Suriname, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago have reported the highest rate of suicide in the Caribbean region. North America experiences 65,000 victims of suicide every year. 90% of these victims have a diagnosable mental disorder. Suicide rates in the Americas are approximately 7.3 to a population of 100,000. This accounts for 11.5 for men and 3.1 for women within the population. Mortality from suicide continues to be higher in men than in women, with a male to female ratio of 3.8. However, women report more suicide attempts. As Kaufman said, surplus repression eventually leads to surplus aggression, and in adolescence, a person's masculinity is shape dependent on the individual. As men develop alongside their masculinity, and they consciously and unconsciously deny all the traits they associate with being feminine or anything less than what their masculinity entails, such as shame or sadness, even fear, eventually it finds a way to be released. And if it is not released in a safe manner, there's often discharge in a form of anger and hostility. This can account for the high mortality rates due to suicide amongst men.
Thank you, Sabina. Our studies have shown marginalization and homophobia can account for the number of deaths amongst our men. Men in the Caribbean are said to be marginalized because women are given opportunities at their expense. However, they are further marginalized by their mental health state. Men are marginalized by their inability to obtain gainful employment due to their mental state. The stress of unemployment and poverty can further lead to the development of other mental health illnesses. In the area of homophobia, mental health is linked to masculinity and heterosexuality in the Caribbean. Men that do not identify with normative male identity, which is heterosexuality, tend to experience mental health issues due to coping with homophobia and discrimination. Men who are marginalized and faced with homophobia develop issues such as depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts that can account for the number of suicide amongst our men in the Caribbean.
And just to add to that, it's important to note that males are marginalized as a result of reinforcement of dominant notions of masculinity and gender socialization that polices their behavior, which is why some people have argued that this form of toxic masculinity may indeed be a key contributor to male mental health issues. And now we have Miss Nia Solomon, who would give us a bit more on exactly what outcome we would like to see with regards to men and their mental health.
The current system of how the mental health of men is treated by our society does not work and is simply problematic. Men need a support system based off of trust and security and must be able to feel safe in an environment that is free of judgment and free of homophobic behavior encouraged by the current patriarchal system. We should be teaching our young boys how to express their emotions in the way that we allow girls to, which may result in the decrease in suicide rates among our young men, also in the occurrences in domestic violence and gang violence. However, in order to help these young boys and men, we must be able to encourage them to speak about their issues.
Thank you, Miss Solomon, and thank you, ladies, for educating us on how masculinity can sometimes be a burden on men's mental health, and that we need to promote a more fluid socialization of masculinity and femininity in order to protect our boys and girls' well-being, because patriarchal ideologies don't only affect women, but they also negatively affect men. Thank you again, and good night to our viewers.